Hey folks, this is Riker. In our last tutorial, we went over the very basics of creating a custom map in the Dota 2 Workshop mod tools. Today, we're going to go over exactly how to create a custom Dota-style map. And it all starts, surprise surprise, by loading the map editor. When you've launched the Workshop tools, start by clicking on Dota_PVP. Then click Create New Add-on from Existing Add-on. Give it any name you want, and hit Create. Then launch the Workshop tools. Go ahead and load the map editor Hammer by clicking on the hammer icon. Then create a new map, File, New, and at this point it will be a good idea to save our map. File, Save. Give it a title. And remember to save early and often. It's as simple as hitting Ctrl S. Next, we want to generate a tile grid by clicking on the little tile editor tool on the left-hand toolbar all the way at the bottom. You could also do Shift C. When you're prompted, create the grid. Now we're going to create a very simple one-lane map without any fancy decorations. We just want to get the basics to make this a playable Dota-style map. So let's scroll out to zoom out, and we're going to lay out our map diagonally with one base on either end. Take a look at your assets browser. We're going to be using this a lot. Under prefabs, you'll see basic_entities_dire and basic entities radiant. Drag dire off into one corner and radiant off into the other. Next, we're going to drag out our ancients. In the prefab asset browser, scroll down until you locate the dire and radiant ancients. Drag them onto the field. Now, let's go ahead and click on the radiant ancient and use Alt-Enter to bring up its properties. Under target name, type in ancient_radiant. And change vulnerable on creep spawn to no. We don't want to be able to target these just yet. Change the invulnerability link count from 0 to 1. Close the window, and we're going to do the same for the dire ancient. Select the dire ancient, Alt-Enter, target name ancient_dire, vulnerable on creep spawn to no, and invulnerability link count 1. Close the window. Now let's place some towers. In the prefab asset browser, scroll all the way down until you see the radiant and dire towers. And let's drag out a tower to make a tier 1 tower, which will be your outermost tower, the furthest from your home base. Alt-Enter to open properties. For name, insert tower_radiant_mid_1. Then for the last property, tower location, change that to middle_tier_1. And close. Drag out a second radiant tower for our tier 2 and our only other radiant tower. Alt-Enter. For target name, tower_radiant_mid_2. For vulnerable on creep spawn, we're going to change this to no. Again, we don't want it to be targetable just yet. Invulnerability link count, change that to 1. And for tower location, we want middle_tier_2. Close the window. Now we get to do the exact same thing, but with the dire towers. Drag out the dire tower. Alt-Enter. Target name, tower_dire_mid_1. Tower location, mid-tier 1. Close the window, drag out another tower. Alt-Enter. Target name, tower_dire_mid_2. Vulnerable on creep spawn, no. Invulnerability link count 1. Tower location, middle tier 2. Close the window. Now, if you're wondering why everything is all gray, blue, and desaturated and you can't see anything, just scroll in a bit And you'll see that that's just because of the fog of war. So as you can see, all of our assets are actually there. And if you scroll out and you have the top left selection tool, you can drag a box and you can actually see where all the objects are placed. If you didn't get their positioning right, you can click one and drag it around to reposition it. Now we're going to set things up so that when the first tower is destroyed, the next tower becomes vulnerable. Select your Tier 1 Radiant Tower. Alt-Enter for Properties. Now click on the Outputs tab at the top, and we're going to create a new output trigger. Click Add. For my output named, put on Tower Killed, which is already in there. For target entities named, use the pull down and select Tower Radiant Mid 2. And for via this input, start typing in reduce, and it'll be invuln count. So that's going to lower the invulnerability count from what we have right now, which is 1 to 0, meaning it will no longer be invulnerable. Close the window, and we're going to do the same thing with the Dire Tower. Select the tower, Alt-Enter, Outputs, Add, on Tower Killed, Tower Dire Mid 2, reduce invuln count, and close. Now let's go ahead and add the barracks. In the prefabs assets, scroll up until you see the barracks, drag that onto the field. Once you've placed the barracks, Alt-Enter for properties. For target name, barracks underscore melee underscore radiant underscore middle, and spell radiant correctly with an A. Vulnerable on creep spawn, no. Invulnerability link count 1. Barracks location, middle. Close and repeat with the Dire barracks. Alt-Enter. Target name, barracks underscore melee underscore dire underscore middle. Vulnerable on creep spawn, no. Invulnerability link count 1. Barracks location, middle. And close. Alright, now we're going to spawn in creeps. We're going to select the entity tool on the left-hand toolbar. It is the light bulb. You can also access it by hitting Shift E. And we're going to want our creeps to spawn in close to, or right in front of the barracks. So let's zoom on in. Now on the pull down, under entity class, look for NPC underscore Dota underscore spawner underscore good underscore mid, and click to place it. Alt-Enter for properties. For name, we're going to put in lane underscore mid underscore good guys underscore melee underscore spawner. And for first waypoint, lane underscore mid underscore path corner underscore good guys underscore 1, and close. Now we're going to place that first waypoint. So back here for the entity class, use the pull down and look for path underscore corner. Lay it out right in front. Alt-Enter. Name lane underscore mid underscore path corner underscore good guys underscore 1. And for next stop target, lane underscore, then it'll autofill to mid path corner good guys 1. Click that and change the 1 to a 2. If you can do that without screwing it up. There we go. And close it. We're now going to create our second waypoint, which we're going to put all the way toward the enemy base. So press T to have the translate tool selected. Let's scroll out a bit. Now hold down Shift while pressing left click to create a copy. And let's zoom out and move this all the way over toward the enemy base. Gonna zoom in here. Let's see. Now we still have a ways to go. And we'll drag that behind the enemy barracks. We're almost done with the radiant creeps. We just have to add a staging node which is going to process the spawn waves. So click on the little light bulb to go back to entities. For entity class, look for info_target. And you can sort of place that anywhere, it doesn't really matter. Alt-enter. And for name, we're going to put in npc_dota_spawner_good_mid_staging. And close. And if you ever accidentally do something like add another entity, just hit Ctrl-Z to undo your mistake. Now we get to do that all over again with the dire creeps. And actually we're going to move this a little because it's kind of out of place there and unsightly. It looks better. Back to entities, entity class, npc_dota_spawner_bad_mid, and left click to place it, alt enter. For name, lane_mid_bad guys_melee_spawner. For first waypoint, lane_mid_path corner_bad guys_1, and close. Entity class, we're going to look for path corner, and we're going to plop that right down. Alt enter. Name, lane_mid_path corner_bad guys_1. Next stop target, lane_. With autocomplete, select path corner bad guys 1, highlight the 1 to change it to a 2, and close. Zoom way out. Then hit T for the translate tool, shift, left click to move it all the way over to the other side. And let's zoom in to see how well we aimed. You know, that's pretty good, pretty close, kind of off. That's in the air actually, that's not that great at all. Click on entities, light bulb again, select info_target. And again, it doesn't really matter where you put this, but I like to put it on the dire side just for organizational purposes. Alt enter. For name, npc_dota_spawner_bad_mid_staging, and close. Now we want to set it so that destroying the second towers makes the ancients and the barracks vulnerable. So let's head on over to the radiant side. Select that tier 2 tower, alt enter, and under outputs we're going to create some new outputs. Add output name on tower killed, it autocompletes. Target entities named, barracks, melee radiant middle, autocomplete, and click. Via this input, reduce invulnerability count, and click. So that makes the barracks vulnerable, obviously. And now let's add another one. On tower killed, target entities named ancient radiant. Via this input, reduce invulnerability count. And we're good. Now let's do the same on the dire side of things. Select the tower, alt enter, outputs, add on tower killed, target entities named barracks melee dire middle. Via this input, reduce invulnerability count, add my output named on tower killed, target entities named ancient dire. Via this input, reduce invulnerability count, and done. Now let's go ahead and add the fountains. In your prefab asset browser, scroll down to the fountains, We're on the dyer side, so let's add the dyer fountain first. Just drag it out near your starting point, and then go over to the radiant side and do the same thing. Drag it out. Now let's add a shop to each starting base. In your prefab browser, you'll notice that there's a number of entries listed with shop at the start. Shop blacksmith, shop keeper. It really doesn't matter which you use, this is just the aesthetics. So let's drag out a shop underscore keeper underscore radiant. Then Alt Enter, and we're going to change it from shop type secret to shop type home. Close. Head over to the dyer base and repeat. Drag out shopkeeper dyer. Alt E, change shop type from secret to home. And now let's actually add a neutral shop in the middle. So drag out shop blacksmith dyer, and we're not going to change the properties because, or actually we are, because it is sent to home right now, and we're going to change that to secret. That's interesting. Setting it to secret is what makes it a neutral shop. Now let's add some runes, and these will be places where runes have a chance to spawn. You can add more than 2, but we'll put 1 here and 1 over here. So again, we're pulling this from the prefabs, it's just called rune. Now let's create a neutral spawn. In the prefabs, you'll see neutral camp. Let's drag that out. Alt Enter for properties. And scroll down to volume name. Set that to neutral underscore camp underscore 01. Then copy paste that into the volume name trigger. Then for camp type, you can choose either easy, moderate, hard, or ancient. Let's go with moderate. And close. Now let's add Roshan. For that, we're going to have to go back to the light bulb entities. Entity class, the pull down, look for NPC Dota Roshan spawner, and go ahead and lay that down. Now we want to make Roshan attackable only when you're within a certain region. So we're going to switch to the block tool right under the light bulb, the cube, and we're going to create a mesh. So select drag an area. We want this area to be around Roshan. Then convert it to a mesh entity with Ctrl T. Alt Enter. Under class, change it from trigger underscore multiple to trigger boss attackable. Scroll down to spawn flags and press the little plus sign to expand that section. Then tick the box next to everything not including physics debris. And untick clients and untick correctly account for object mass. Close the box. I did a sloppy job of creating the region, so at this point you'd want to size it properly to what you want. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. Now at this point you might want to block players from looking down into the Roshan pit. We can do that by going back to the entity tool, the light bulb. Under entity class, look for ent underscore FOW for field of view, blocker node. And we're going to place that near our Roshan spawner. Now we need to properly position this. Press Ctrl Q to activate grid nav mode. This is going to help us position things. With the translate tool, drag the entity over to the edge of your pit. Now at the bottom right of hammer, you'll see grid 64. Change that to 32. And then try to position the entity in the center of that cube. There we go. Now it should be centered on the outer edge. And now we want to switch back to 64. Now we have to duplicate this entity around the entire perimeter of our area. In order to do this easily, simply hold down Shift and then press the arrow key in the direction that you want to create a copy. We're going to go clockwise, so we're going to start with the left. And we keep pressing to keep producing copies. Because we are on 64 grid, they all remain perfectly aligned. So let's keep working our way around. When you reach a corner, simply change direction to up. And if this happens to you, where they start going up in the air, just Control Z and reorient. It'll be based on where your camera is, so you can even just go back, reorient your camera, and keep doing to the left. With that done, turn off Grid View with Control Q. Now we want to prevent some ward placement, so that's what we'll do next. Select the Block tool by pressing the cube, then drag out an area that covers the perimeter that you've just outlined with your Fog of War entities. I just realized now that I said Field of View earlier, I meant Fog of War. FOW, clearly Fog of War, not Field of View. Hit Control T to convert it to a mesh, and if you get this funny little error, press OK, then do it again. And it'll work this time, because you have to have the selection tool selected and not whatever we had before. I'm very tired, I'm recording this very late in the morning. With our mesh selected, Alt Enter for class trigger, no wards. Scroll down, open the spawn flags, they're already open, fantastic. And tick the box next to everything. Then untick the other two. Close, and hey, guess what? We are done. We're just about done. I lied. We're gonna just have to compile the map and then we're done. So hit F9 to bring up the build dialog. Make sure create minimap on load is ticked, since this is the first time, so you need a minimap. Then hit build and wait for that to complete. At that point you should have a fully functioning Dota style map. Congratulations.
Choose your hero.
Have some fun. And if something is not working, go back, double check all the text that you put in, make sure you have no typos anywhere in there.
This place appears like a vision in the mist.
Prepare for battle.
As you can see from the minimap, I did a pretty poor job of placing out the towers, but I wasn't very meticulous about it. Obviously, you can go back in there, you can adjust all of that, and right now, again, we have a functional map. It's not very pretty, as you'll notice. It's just basically flat grass. So if you want to know how to create something that is visually appealing, as this Inception horn sounds, then click on this video link above us to view the previous tutorial, which showed us how to create some really cool looking terrain in order to spice up these maps. But otherwise, your map's functional, go ahead and play it. And to create 3-lane setups, it's a little more complicated, but not that much. We've laid out the basics here. From that, you can probably intuit how to do it yourself. But if you need some help with that, then leave a comment on this video and stay tuned to this channel for more Dota modding tutorials. So, thanks for watching. Do leave a comment, and until next time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.